They say no one drives down Highway 66 after midnight, but we didn't believe in ghost stories until that night. Story number 1: The Abandoned Highway. It began as a simple road trip. Alex, Lisa, and Mark were on their way to a music festival, excited for a weekend of fun. The GPS suggested a shortcut through a desolate highway, claiming it would save them an hour. Against Lisa's better judgment, they took it. The first hour was uneventful. A straight road flanked by dense woods on both sides. But as the clock struck midnight, strange things began to happen. First, their phones lost signal. Then, the radio started playing eerie static that sounded almost like whispers. When a thick fog rolled in, reducing visibility to near zero, the trio's excitement turned to unease. The stranger by the road. As they debated turning back, they spotted a figure standing on the roadside. A man in a tattered jacket, waving them down. Against their instincts, they stopped. The man claimed his car had broken down and asked for a ride to the next town. He seemed normal enough, but his piercing eyes and the way he avoided certain questions unsettled them. Soon, the man began telling stories about the highway. Gruesome tales of people who went missing, phantom trucks that chased lone drivers, and a mysterious black car that was said to appear before fatal accidents. A chase in the fog. As the fog thickened, their car's headlights began flickering. Then in the rearview mirror, Lisa saw it. A pair of glowing red lights that looked like eyes. The black car was real, and it was gaining on them. The stranger started laughing, his voice deep and guttural. "It's your turn now," he whispered. What follows is a harrowing escape filled with twists and revelations about the highway's dark past, and the sinister truth about their mysterious passenger. Deeper into the nightmare. The glowing red lights chased them relentlessly, appearing closer with every turn they made. Alex floored the accelerator, but the car seemed to be struggling, as if something unseen was holding it back. Lisa clutched her seatbelt tightly, her eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the stranger, whose smile had twisted into something inhuman. "You should have stayed on the main road," he muttered, his voice now layered with multiple tones, both human and something else. Mark demanded to know what he meant, but the man only chuckled. As the red lights grew brighter, the car's engine sputtered and died. The trio was left stranded in the middle of the highway, with the ominous lights growing closer. The truth about Highway 66. Desperate, they scrambled out of the car and ran into the woods. The stranger didn't follow but stood by the car, his silhouette illuminated by the approaching lights. Alex, Lisa, and Mark hid behind trees, their breaths ragged. From their hiding spot, they watched as the black car, sleek, silent, and impossibly fast, pulled up to their vehicle. The driver's door opened, but no one stepped out. Instead, the stranger approached the car as if greeting an old friend. "They're yours now," he said, pointing toward the woods where the trio hid. The car's headlights turned toward them, piercing through the trees like searchlights. An unthinkable choice. Realizing they couldn't outrun whatever was hunting them, the friends debated their next move. Mark suggested confronting the stranger, but Alex and Lisa knew it was futile. They decided to split up, hoping to confuse their pursuers. What ensues is a desperate game of cat and mouse, with the trio uncovering horrifying clues about the highway's origins and the price it demands from those who dare to travel it. The final stand. As dawn approached, Alex found himself alone at an old, crumbling gas station. The walls were covered in graffiti, some of which seemed to describe their exact situation. One message stood out. "To escape, you must make the trade." But what trade? Before he could decipher it, the black car appeared again, and Alex realized the horrifying truth. One of them had to stay behind. Story number 2. Shadows of the Lonely Route. When you're miles away from civilization, the line between real and unreal starts to blur. And sometimes, it's better not to look too closely. Emma and Jake, a young couple, were on their way to visit Jake's family in a distant rural town. To save time, they took an old, unmarked route that hadn't been used in years. The road twisted through valleys and hills, its surface cracked and overgrown with weeds. The first omen. Hours into their journey, they noticed an old woman standing in the middle of the road. She wore a tattered shawl and stared at them with hollow eyes. Emma begged Jake to stop, but when they looked back, the woman had vanished. The ghostly service station. Later, running low on gas, they found a service station that looked like it hadn't been open for decades. Against better judgment, they pulled in. The attendant, an elderly man with a scarred face, filled their tank but refused to accept payment. Instead, he warned them, "Don't stop for anyone. No matter what." A descent into terror. As they continued, they encountered eerie phenomena. Shadows crossing the road with no source, whispering voices from the trees, and a pale child standing by the roadside who disappeared as they approached. The final straw came when their car's headlights illuminated a procession of hooded figures walking across the road, dragging what looked like a heavy sack. The forest beckons. Emma and Jake's car began making strange noises, a screeching sound that seemed to come from the tires. Suddenly, the steering wheel locked, forcing them to stop. As they tried to restart the car, a dense mist enveloped them, and whispers filled the air. "We need to get out of here," Emma urged, her voice trembling. But as they stepped out of the car, they realized the road behind them had disappeared, replaced by dense forest. The hooded figures. The hooded figures emerged from the mist, their faces obscured. They surrounded Emma and Jake, chanting in a language neither of them could understand. One of the figures stepped forward and held out an ancient, weathered book. The pages glowed faintly, and symbols began to move across them. The couple was forced to participate in a bizarre ritual, one that seemed to trap them in a loop of terror. Every attempt to escape led them back to the same spot, the hooded figures always waiting. It became clear that the forest itself was alive, and it wouldn't let them leave without a sacrifice. Breaking the curse. Emma discovered a clue hidden in the book's pages, a way to break the curse, but it came at a steep cost. She had to choose between her freedom and Jake's life. The story builds to a heart-wrenching climax as Emma grapples with the impossible decision, ultimately revealing the dark history of the lonely route and the spirits that haunt it. Story 3. The Hitchhiker's Curse. Hook. The last thing you want to hear on an empty road at night is someone knocking on your car window. From the inside, college friends Mia, Ryan, and Sophie were returning from a weekend camping trip. As the sun set, they found themselves on an isolated road that stretched endlessly into the horizon. To pass the time, Ryan began sharing urban legends, including the infamous tale of the Hitchhiker's Curse. The mysterious knock. Ryan's story was interrupted by a loud knock on the car window. But when they looked, no one was there. Moments later, their car's interior lights flickered, and the air turned icy cold. Sophie screamed, claiming she saw a figure sitting in the back seat for a split second. The creeping presence. Strange things escalated. Their car's GPS started rerouting them in circles, and their headlights illuminated the same stretch of road repeatedly. Meanwhile, Mia's phone began receiving cryptic messages from an unknown number. "Turn around. Leave now." Unraveling the curse. As panic set in, the group stopped at an old diner, hoping to find help. The diner's lone occupant, a waitress with tired eyes, warned them about the road. "You're not the first," she said, sliding them a newspaper clipping about a hitchhiker who disappeared decades ago. The article claimed that anyone who encounters the hitchhiker is doomed to relive their final moments. The hitchhiker returns. Their car wouldn't start when they tried to leave. Suddenly, the hitchhiker appeared, his face pale and his eyes empty. He whispered the same words over and over. "Take me home." Desperate, the friends agreed to drive him, but the journey became a surreal nightmare. The road seemed to twist and bend, leading them to places that defied logic. The final confrontation. The hitchhiker revealed his tragic story, but it came with a chilling twist. He wasn't seeking closure, he wanted company. The friends realized too late that by agreeing to help, they had sealed their fate. The story concludes with an ominous hint that their car is now the one haunting the road, luring in new victims. The tales of the abandoned highway, shadows of the lonely route, and the hitchhiker's curse remind us of the dangers lurking in the unknown. Each road trip, meant to be a journey of adventure or necessity, transformed into a descent into terror. These stories aren't just about haunted roads or vengeful spirits. They are cautionary tales about the choices we make, the warnings we ignore, and the truths we are too scared to face. Sometimes, the scariest part of a journey isn't what lies ahead. It's what we bring with us. So the next time you take a shortcut or drive down an unfamiliar road, think twice. Because on the loneliest of highways, some passengers aren't looking for a ride, they're looking for you. Let these stories serve as a chilling reminder. The most ordinary journeys can lead to the most extraordinary nightmares. Stay safe, and don't forget to check your rearview mirror. You never know who, or what, might be following.